It has been quite a while since I've made a Skyrim builds video, but lately I felt the itch to make one, and today I have for you guys a Skyrim build that I've been cooking up for about 2 weeks called The Blade. Now it's a pretty standard build. A lot of people kind of have had this idea before, but this is my spin on it. So The Blade is a blade, like a member of the Blades Guild, and the type of weapons and armor that this build uses is heavy armor and one-handed sword and shield type combat. So the ultimate goal of the Blade, by the way, this is best played on Legendary difficulty. That's the balancing I used for this, so if you play on any other difficulty it might seem a bit too OP, but I play on Legendary difficulty for this. So for the beginning of this build, you're going to want to try to use heavy armor, whatever you can get that is best. You probably steel at the beginning of the game, and working your way up to dwarven and orcish as soon as you can, potentially even steel plates if you get lucky. Now this build does use smithing, however it does not use enchanting, as I felt that smithing was powerful enough. Enchanting kind of just takes it well beyond the sort of heavy duty warrior vibe that I wanted to go with. I wanted to use as little offensive magic and buffing magic as possible, just enough to get by, not really trying to break the spirit of the sword and board combat. So the ultimate goal of this character is to complete the main quest line and completely restore the blades. Now I don't know if you guys actually knew that you can do this, but there's actually a small sort of side tangent of the main quest line where you can restore the blades. Basically what you have to do is Delphine will ask you to get her 3 followers to join the blades. And these can be anyone. I chose Janasa, Feindul, and I think Uthgerd, who I initiated into the blades, and they become permanent blade followers. And once you do that, Esbern sends you on radiant missions to go hunt down specific dragons. After the first time you do it, he gives you a potion, which when you drink it, gives you a permanent 25% resistance to dragon melee attacks, which is very OP. After you do that, it's pretty much just radiant quests, which you don't have to complete if you don't want to. But you will end up killing Parthenax in the main quest line. I know, it's pretty heartbreaking killing Parthenax, but it's what the Blades want, and in this roleplay, you are a member of the Blades. I actually tried in this kind of build to kind of roleplay not as the Dragonborn, but just as a Blade who has the ability to shout. So I don't use shouts that often, only when it's absolutely necessary, like when the story demands that I use them. Primarily, I only use Unrelenting Force and Dragonrend, because those are the only two that, those are the two that the Greybeards, well, the Unrelenting Force, the Greybeards teach you, and Dragonrend you get from the Ancient Nords. So I feel like those two shouts are awfully fitting. Now, I don't know if I said this yet, I've been kind of going on tangents, but the main ending gear, like the late game gear that you're going to end up using, is a full set of Blades armor, that being the Blades chestplate, the boots, the gauntlets, and a Blades shield. However, the helmet, you're actually not going to use a Blades helmet. You're going to use the Dragon Priest mask Nakreen, which is the one that you get for killing the Dragon Priest at Skull Dolphin, which is the last dungeon in the main quest line, and it's the, Dragon Priest that you fight. This actually has a pretty high base armor rating. Well, it's not pretty high, but it's high enough that it doesn't matter. It gives you 50 bonus magicka, and it gives you a 20% cost reduction to destruction and restoration spells. Now, the destruction doesn't really matter because this build does not use destruction. However, it does heavily rely on restoration to stay afloat because Legendary is pretty difficult with managing HP. You also use alteration, specifically the flesh spell. So at the beginning of the game, you will use oak flesh to get a 40 points armor rating increase. In the mid game, you would use stone flesh, and you will probably end up using iron flesh for the rest of the playthrough, as, if you get smithing pretty high, you can actually reach the armor cap with your Blades gear pretty quickly, or you can get pretty close to the armor cap, so you don't really need to use ebony flesh, you can simply just use iron flesh and save the magicka. You also will end up using Flame Atronach to help you in combat, and if you want to, you could even get the Sanguine's Rose, which you complete by doing Sanguine's Stagic quest, the quest called A Night to Remember, and the Sanguine's Rose will summon a Dremora Lord, a two-handed Dremora Lord, to help fight with you. I ended up using Sanguine's Rose significantly more than Flame Atronach. Flame Atronach I used in the beginning of the game. However, I used Sanguine's Rose quite often when I got to Mizulft and Blackreach and Skull Dolphin and everything like that, because it's just, you need something very powerful. However, using a Flame Atronach to fight dragons is much better, because it has a ranged attack, and it's resistant to fire damage, of course, so that's just very powerful. So yes, you use Restoration Magic, you use One-Handed Sword and Shield, you use Conjuration and Alteration. However, the sword specifically that you're going to end up using is Dragon's Bane. For those of you who don't know, Dragon's Bane is a sword that has the same model as the Blade Sword, and you get it in Skyhaven Temple in the armory right to the left of the big room. And it's an enchanted sword. It's more powerful the later you get it in the game. So I recommend being at least level 20 by that time, maybe level 30. Dragon's Bane is a sword that has a pretty good base damage. It's nothing crazy, but it's pretty damn good. And it does 30 extra points of damage to dragons, and it does 10 points of shock damage to anybody else. If you get that weapon earlier in the game, it will likely be only 20 points of damage to a dragon, but if you get it later, it can be as high as 40 extra points to dragons, I believe. So, you know, I think level 20 to 30 is the perfect range to get it. Now also, the reason why at the beginning I said you're going to invest in smithing is because you need to get at least level 60 smithing, and you're going to end up getting the Arcane Enchanter perk, which allows you to improve upon enchanted weapons, and this is how you're going to make Dragon's Bane actually viable. You're going to get that perk and you're going to improve on it to make it do really high damage. Ideally, if you have the patience and you have the time, getting to level 80 or maybe even level 100 smithing and making all of your gear legendary, that would be perfect. However, I did not do this in my playthrough because I didn't have the time, and I ended up deciding to move on to a different build. The quest lines that you're going to end up completing in this is, you're going to complete the main quest line fully, as I've stated. This build, you don't actually side with anyone in the Civil War, so you're not going to be doing that. If you want to, you can do Daedric quests. That's not against the build. However, the only Daedric quests I actually completed was the Sanguine's Rose one, and I think I completed the Waking Nightmares one. Basically, the only Daedric quests I completed was the ones that made me a hero, aside from Sanguine's Rose. That one was just for fun, for like the summon. But basically, every action you take is an action towards being a hero, you know, a savior of Skyrim, something like that. Now, if you want to, you can do the Cottage of Winterhorde, but I did not complete the Cottage of Winterhorde because I felt like a true blade would not complete the Cottage of Winterhorde, and I did actually do a little bit of the companions, but again, I did not complete it because I didn't want to become a werewolf. You can become a werewolf or a vampire lord. Sorry, my brain is all over the place today. You can do that if you want, however, that's not what I recommend for this build. In this build, you're just a standard spell sword, sword and board build. And you do not kill innocent people, you do not steal, unless you have to. Anyways, that pretty much sums up the build. It's actually very strong, especially if you have a capable follower with you, like Uthgerd or Lydia maybe. It's pretty powerful and very viable at the high levels. I think I got to level 40 on this one before I lost interest. So it can be very strong if you do end up going all the way with it. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to suggest any more builds for me to do next video, please let me know. And yeah, stay awesome as always, and peace out.